So we are here with Josh. This is Tristan's buddy.
Hang on, I'm gonna give you a little fucking something special here. My name is Josh Kirk. You know me from season 9 through season 11 of History Channel's television show Mountain Men. And this is actually a buffalo that I raised, Pendleton, right here. He was kind of just left by his mom, and he's about 1,200 pounds now, so I have to be a little bit more careful with him now. What's up, P? And he gets kind of weird, especially when there's like other buffalo around. P, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Yes. So out of 750 bison that are here on the ranch, I pick him out kind of like my kid because I raised him. I gave him his first bottle, etc. And even though he's 1,100 pounds and I raised him, and he used to break into my house and break the door down anytime he wanted to get in. But he's still dangerous because he breeds. I've totally put him back in with a herd, so he's a breeder bull now, which is why he's kind of beat down, run down right now. They just came out of their 3rd cycle of breeding. But his name is Pendleton, after the blanket and the whiskey, and he is 3.5 years old. And he is the only bison on the ranch that I would even think about getting this close to, but he's like my kid. So I watched him drop from his mom. I was out feeding hay, and we're getting ready to move the bison from one pasture to another. So here on the ranch, we run in a holistic management program to where we basically exasperate one pasture, eat the grass down, and then during the wintertime, we feed local hay on that pasture. And basically what we're doing is organically gardening local hay on the pastures, utilizing the hooves of the bison. And so we were getting ready to move them from one pasture to another. And it was during our first calving season. And Pendleton here, I watched him drop from his mom, and his mom just left, going to the other pasture. And so I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And at that time, it was a learning process for me. I've been working with him for going on about 2.5 years at the time. This was our first yield of calves, bison calves, and his mom just leaves him. And so I'm like, crap. So I went over there and I peeled off the membrane from him, utilizing gloves because I didn't want no scent on him. And I carry him over to the other pasture where the bison were, and I set him down, and I leave him for 2 hours, and I watch him for 2 hours. His mother never came back, and then the other bulls started coming in and just flipping him. And Pendleton here, he was just getting tossed around, and so I went in there and grabbed him, got him down to the house, and I got some colostrum. Colostrum is the very first basically milk that comes out of the udder when they're born. And what it does is colostrum, as soon as a calf latches on to the teat or the udder, they get a bacteria, which is a good bacteria, which builds what they call the rumen. And the rumen is what allows their body to process and take in food. Well, he had never gotten any rumen. And so I got some colostrum down him. Took me a while. I finally got him his first bottle in him. And wound up feeding him goat's milk, because regular replacement milk for like cows or calves, bovine, it wouldn't work. And so I raised him, and he got to be about 3.5 months old. And because his rumen had never built up, I almost lost him, almost died. And the vets couldn't figure out what was going on with him. Finally, I went back to my roots, gave him a bottle of castor oil, and it flushed his system. And he's, of course, this is 3.5 years later, he's still living.
So Josh, can you tell people what would happen if they just approached a bison like this and they didn't raise them from when they were born like you did?
So first and foremost, approaching any wild animal, and these are wild animals, even though they are in a pen, they get out. They will get out of a pen. Most fences, they will get through. I always say hay is the best fence, but if you approach any pretty much wild animal, and bison, because they are an indigenous species here in the Wind River Mountain Range of Wyoming, then you are going to get either very badly injured or die. You do not. It is an absolute no-no. I'm even cautious with him. I know bison, I know their behavior, I know how they act, but even raising him, I'm still cautious because I have put him back into the herd, reestablished him back as a herd bull. And because he fights the other bison, he breeds the cows. He's got calves on the ground running around here. Because of that, he's still a wild animal. So it's an absolute no-no. Do not approach the furry animals. One of the things we do not do here on the ranch actually is spray for weeds, because spraying for weeds for us is, if it kills broadleaf plants, then that is something that we do not want to put on the grasses. However, sneaking up behind us, this is number 33. I'm going to interrupt this to say this, and 33 is the most dangerous bull on the ranch. He doesn't have any ear tags anymore because he's lost them by fighting. And Pendleton here gets a complex. I'm gonna leave him alone. He kind of gets a complex when I'm petting him around the other herd bulls. He's like, "Dad, you're embarrassing me," literally. And so, you know, he's gonna kind of get a little, you know, he's moving his tail a little bit. But yes, I love you too, buddy. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And you can see 33 is like, this is way out of character. What are you doing? Let's jump back into the Gnostic weeds real quick. You can see here in Pendleton wool that's coming out here, which they lose their wool every year, and their wool is a really awesome, actually I'm wearing socks right now that's made from some of Pendleton's wool and some of the other bison's wool here as well. But this right here is called hound's tongue, and it's a Gnostic weed, an invasive weed species. Some people call them hitchhikers, depending on what part of the country you're in. Yeah, it's a Gnostic weed that grows, that you really don't want in your pastures. But here we run a regenerative system, holistic system, to where we don't want to spray for these weeds. And so we're beginning a process of utilizing vinegar, which is a natural substance, to be able to get rid of these weeds. However, with weeds, Gnostic weeds such as a bull thistle or thistle, Canadian thistle, I've learned from when the first calves, which our first calves here were 6 years ago. They were yearlings and weanlings on the ranch. I learned that, excuse me, I learned that through utilizing salt. If I cut back on their natural mineral, because we give them a buffet of all natural organic minerals, if I cut back on their mineral and I take hot water and I mix it with salt, and I go out and I spray thistle, because thistle is actually edible to human beings. It's got a lot of fiber, it's got a lot of protein. The flower is edible, you can make teas out of it. The stalk, if you cut off and splice off the little hairs, the little prickly hairs off of it, then you can take that and it tastes just like celery. And so my horses eat it, goats will eat it, cows will eat it. And so I learned if I went out and sprayed that thistle with salt, then the bison started smelling the salt on them because I'd cut back on their mineral. Then they started eating it, and once it clicked, their stomach clicked with their brain, they're like, man, this is good for me. And they started annihilating thistle. And it's a natural way to get rid of that Gnostic weed, that weed that's invasive. However, this year, due to so much moisture, there's so much regrowth coming in. And so of course, animals are animals, they're gonna hit the regrowth first. So we've had a little bit of a battle for the first time in 6 years. And so now we're gonna use vinegar to do away with that. So